IVM.
Hi, I'm Utsav, a behavior researcher by training and a slow traveler by passion. Postcards from Nowhere is a travel podcast where I condense a decade of travel experiences and explore not just the where, but also the why and how to travel. My stories emerged from slow traveling the less explored parts of the world: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Armenia, Uzbekistan, and even China. At the end of each story, I give practical tips and new ideas about how to travel better. This week, starting a new series, The Kashmir Diaries, I take you to the last rosewater maker of Srinagar, a vanishing craft on its last breath, and what it means for our intangible heritage. Every May, in the Isfahan province of Iran, around the towns of Kamsar and Nezar, occurs a transformation owing to the delicate fragrance of the Mohammadi roses. People wake up early at dawn and start harvesting them. They take the stem of the flower with their right hand and gently pick the flower with their left thumb. Any delay in harvesting them decreases the quantity and quality of essential oils. And thus begins the annual festival of Gulabgiri, where entire towns are involved in the process of making rosewater. Over 2,000 kilometers from Isfahan, on the banks of the Jhelum River in Srinagar, lies the shrine of Shah-e Hamdan, or Khanak-e-Maula. He was an Islamic preacher and saint whose Kashmir forays saw the masses getting converted to Islam. About 500 years ago, his son, Mir Muhammad Hamdani, arrived in Srinagar through the Silk Route. He brought with him various crafts and industries from Iran and Turkey, including forms of carpet weaving, herbal medication, and pashmina shawls. But Mir Muhammad Hamdani did not come alone. He was accompanied by a man named Sayyid Muhammad Nuristani, who was a master alchemist and started producing rosewater on a large scale. And with that, started the tradition of sprinkling rosewater on devotees at shrines. On a warm Saturday afternoon in Srinagar, I found myself at the Khanak-e-Maula. In a nearby building, battered by the vagaries of time, one would find a carved wooden door, the entryway into a place where time freezes. A wooden window opens its shutters to form a makeshift storefront. At that very window sits a man with a wizened face. He is no ordinary man. His ancestors learned the art of rosewater making from Nuristani himself. At 60, Abdul Aziz Kosgar is the last remaining rosewater maker of Srinagar. What I witnessed was a craft taking its last few breaths. The shop Arke Gulab is surrounded by antique glass jars and decanters, and the whiff of rose is in the air. The wall is adorned by a frozen wall clock, which almost feels metaphorical. Abdul Aziz hunches over the glass jars. His surname Kosgar literally means user of jars in Persian. These jars are procured from Europe, but now gather dust, with the wooden shelves creaking under their weight. Many have developed cracks owing to the cold winters of Srinagar. I tried to make conversation with Aziz, but he doesn't seem interested, for I am probably amongst a long line of tourists who come to satiate their curiosity about this place. A customer saunters by and starts chatting with Aziz in rapid Kashmiri. He asks him to fill up a large empty bottle with rosewater. Everyone carries their own bottles now, and no longer does Aziz give it in glass jars. Legend has it, the very seat that Aziz now occupies once seated mystics and saints delving deep on mysticism with his ancestors. His rosewater continues to be in demand for the Urs, or the anniversary of the saints. But what most don't know is the other contribution of Aziz's family, the art of Hikmat, practitioners of the Unani system of medicine. Aziz's father would prepare more than 50 syrups besides rosewater, which were used in Unani medicine. Today, allopathic medicine is the system of choice for Kashmiris, and the syrups are no longer in demand. He prepares only a few syrups now. Arki Nilofer, for instance, is made from the water lily. Kah Zaban is made out of a plant with light violet flowers, known more popularly as the star flower, and is used for the treatment of pneumonia and tuberculosis. But as Unani recedes in the background and artificial rosewater is available abundantly, Aziz is well aware that his craft will die with him. There is little money to be made, and he does not expect his son to take up the profession. He goes on to say, "I'm only following my ancestors who ran it for spiritual yearning rather than commercial purposes. The only aim of running this is to preserve an important part of us." Aziz speaks from a sense of duty and has resisted the mechanization of his craft, but he feels the historical significance of it would be lost. As I saw Aziz attend to a small stream of customers, I went to a grocery store and picked up a small bottle of water. For a mere 20 rupees, Aziz filled up the entire bottle with rose water. In his sanguine voice, he advised that I put it on my face to find relief from the heat of the afternoon. I did and felt immediately transformed by the cooling effect of the rose water. I couldn't help but contrast the experience of Gulabgiri in Iran with Arke Gulab in Srinagar. They both had the same cultural and medicinal roots, but ended up charting completely different destinies. In a rapidly changing world, how do we preserve our traditions? One of the biggest challenges we face today is to fight the collective amnesia which heightens and exacerbates with each generation. How do we not measure everything from the lens of money and value our intangible cultural heritage? I have no ready answers, but one thing I found repeatedly in Kashmir is the passion that people have towards their crafts. The patience and persistence with which they doggedly pursue their love is increasingly becoming rare. But they do so because their craft is so defining of them that they cannot imagine themselves in any other way. Maybe the only way to preserve our heritage is to find ways to revive passions amongst young people. Only these passions could heal the cracked glass jars of our vanishing heritage. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Utsav Memory on Twitter and YVTravel42 on Instagram.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Naan Curry, Sadaf and Archit stir up a hot pot of stories exploring the age-old breakfast of Old Delhi Nihari. This is a must-check out from the #1 food podcast in India. We'd like to welcome Audio Gyan to the network. It's an old show about design. We want to kick off this season with Jay Datta, design head at Make My Trip and Go Ivy Bo. He's also the founder of Design Up. Positively Unlimited gets a makeover. Check out the revamped show Say No to Drama with Chetna and learn how to avoid drama in your life. Home is where the heart is. Marathi Kirkitun helps us understand more about homes. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth asks the pertinent question, is jealousy good for you? And on the Musafir Stories, get introduced to the headhunters of Nagaland. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any other show for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to spread the word about a podcast you love. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, See It, Cred, Global Victoria, Bank of Baroda, Intuit India, and CoinSwitch Kuber.
Season 3 of Echoes of India, your favorite history podcast, is back on the IVM Podcast Network. I'm your host, Anirudh Kanasetti. Join me on a journey through the wonders of early India as we explore the centuries between Buddha and Ashoka with critical research, empathy, and great storytelling. Along the way, you'll hear from all the vibrant peoples who shaped our world, from monks and farmers to warriors and emperors. New episodes are out every Monday.